Chris and Rob Podcast Show is proud to be supported by Vaporit in Silverdale, Washington. Regain control of your smoking habit alongside a community of friendly and knowledgeable staff members. With a wide selection of e-liquids and equipment, Vaporit will put you well on your way to a healthier lifestyle. Located in the Ross Plaza off of Silverdale Way.
You just got some love making to your ear holes. We want to give a nice shout out to our provider of our show's intro music, North State. Check out their first LP, Tension, at northstatewah.bandcamp.com.
Hey everybody, it's Rob from Chris and Rob Podcast Show. Bringing you episode 1 on a glorious Washington afternoon. It's shitty outside, but we ate Mexican food earlier, so that made it tons better.
Oh yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
You are Chris.
I am Chris.
I
Yeah,
am
I'm Chris of this podcast.
Chris of this. I don't get a word that rhymes with my name, so it's not nearly as cool.
No.
Thanks. Thanks for bringing me back up. So, we were just talking about this just a second ago before recording. It's been a while since we've gotten to do something like this.
Yeah. We've done podcasts in the future, probably for the last, 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's always been a larger setting, and it's usually been loosely based off of entertainment and gaming, and just really ramblings of who each person was, so this is kind of a more refined version of that.
This is, I think we ended up taking the people that had the most ramblings to do, and then we put them in their own show, and them is us. So we've done a good job on refining who.
Yeah.
Now refining the what.
Yeah, the what of.
This
is kind of just a get to know each other of where.
My name's Rob.
My name is Chris.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
We're actually shaking hands.
Yeah.
Too. We haven't known each other
for 4 or 5 years or so.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, it does feel really good to be talking into a microphone again with a good friend and being able to converse back and forth and chew the fat, aka bullshit, about just anything in general.
Yeah.
I think having that open platform for just being able to talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about is one of the most empowering feelings. Only because I know that there's no one else in the room right now to be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but, anybody who's listening, we really don't know what the direction of the show is. It's mostly just kind of a place to rant. If whatever's going on in your life, good or bad, it's just a place to kind of vent. And,
for us, you don't get to do that.
No.
Shut up and listen, please.
Yeah, no, if you have comments, if you have whatever, if we ever get to the point where you're actually calling,
God, that'd be cool.
I don't care.
Somebody gets on the phone. Yeah, so I called it to talk about. No. We just wanted you to call to make sure that there was at least one person listening right now.
It's just almost like a monetary validation. But no, in previous episodes, of other shows that we've done, it's always been kind of all over the place with wanting a direction, and now we're kind of maybe skipping the direction. Or just having a direction of the particular episode.
A theme.
Yeah.
This is like prom night.
Yeah, this is kind of like your what was the test pilot, like the pilot episode, where it's kind of you kind of get a feel for it, and then it kind of gets refined from there. So
yeah, but we're perfect in every way. imaginable.
God, not me.
We're not there yet, but no, I mean, like I said, it's exciting to be able to record again, especially because when I'm not doing it, everything that I would normally feel like talking about in front of a microphone, I usually have to keep it pent inside, and there's no one to share it with. And the thing about a podcast is, like, you can't have the discussions that you would have on a podcast with everyday people.
Yeah.
Because everyday people kind of suck.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, and not just kind of. I mean, so the majority of people are terrible, like awful people. Just reading every day and day, and like especially like all the things that are going on with like social media, like actual media, you know, and just the current events that are going on, and a lot of things are just kind of coming to light that, you know, people like you and I have kind of seen for a while, and other people kind of just take it for face value. And I don't know, you kind of really just get a sense of who's really, you know, paying attention, not even just to certain situations, but just to life in general.
I know there's people that listen to some of our older shows that would just put it on as background music for whatever day-to-day chore they were doing.
Yeah.
Just washing the dishes, like, oh, I'm going to listen to the podcast, you know? Driving into town, oh, I'm going to listen to the podcast. Which I can appreciate. I mean, like, if I become part of someone's life that they just listen to just to fucking have some background noise, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to, like, hold parties and shit in my favor, but, I mean, by all means. I'm stoked enough for you to just be turning the volume up to medium and giving it a listen. Like, I'm content with that.
Yeah.
Not to say that we're trying to produce anything that's lackluster or not good enough for you to share with your friends and everything. By all means, love it if you could, you know, share it out and everything like that. Shameless, you know, sharing bump right there. But
yeah. Well, I mean, and also like having a podcast, I mean, it doesn't really need to be anything significant. You can do it with it whatever you want. Because I mean, there's just a sea of podcasts and whatever. So
I think it was Kumail Nanjiani had a post on Twitter one time. It was like, at this point, it's basically unsafe to not have a podcast. Just in the realm of working in this day and age when it comes to entertainment platforms, there's so many different things that can be done.
Yeah.
Podcasting, it was just something that had to come along eventually. Not to say that it wasn't already a format. I mean, talk radio and things like that were very much a thing, but those are always very targeted and are kind of phased out.
I think it is also like people, like, I mean, it's when it comes to like talk radio, you know, you kind of get enthralled because you get a lot of opinion. But people like a lot of like the more personal, intimate, not so much the hokey show, but like they like the more intimate conversations between 2 or 3 people. Like, right. So kind of like the behind the scenes. It's right. You kind of get a little bit more background, a little more uncanny. You get to see a little bit more personality instead of more script. So
it would be safe to assume that the people that spend the extra $5 on the Blu-ray behind the scenes cut are probably the same people listening to podcasts.
Yeah, pretty much. Like they like that kind of stuff.
I feel it.
I'm assuming
it's well, right. It's very personable. It's not, when, like you said, just to tag off of the radio show
right.
genre. It's basically the platform itself is just transcended into the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's very opinionated when it comes to radio talk shows because you're either talking about something that's politically oriented or something based on a genre of music.
Yeah.
And like no one's going to call into a country music station and just like, country music sucks, and then that is just nothing's going to go from there.
Right.
But when you have something as freeform and as generalized as a podcast, it's not something where somebody can really look at it and say like, oh, I don't like the whole thing, because it's like there's so much shit going on in there, so many things involved. Well, you know, you're gonna have to break it down. What part of it did you enjoy? What part didn't you like?
Yeah. So I mean, podcast aside, we are located kind of like where we reside here. If you're depending on where you're from, we're up here in Kitsap County, in specifically Bremerton, Washington. It's kind of a if you haven't been here before, very trees, lots of green thing. I mean, it's, and like the weather right that we have right now is pretty atypical of Washington weather. Very overcast, kind of. It's what, May?
Yep.
And it's in the 50s. I mean, we've been having nice weather lately, but it's been kind of shitty.
It's come and go.
It's come and go. But like this is typical Washington weather.
Looks out the window.
Yeah. I'm trying to like making sure like
as if it's changed. Nobody's going to call you on it though. I mean, like a week from now someone's going to listen to it and be like, I fucking know what weather it was when you guys recorded. You guys are a bunch of fucking liars.
I really hope I get somebody that's like that. And even if we do get anybody who writes in or comments it and they just, oh man, I'm waiting for I'm always one for, and I love blasting.
Well, your YouTube video you showed me earlier came with the disclaimer. It was like, we await your hate mail.
Yeah. So one thing about me is that like I try to kind of keep myself busy with editing on Photoshop, or I do a lot of video editing. I just started a new YouTube channel for my airsoft hobby that I do. But before then, I pretty much just uploaded anything I had to my personal account. And why I did this show, and we're still planning on making it an actual venture. My friend Brent Baird and myself do a show called Chris and Brent Watch a Movie, and it was originally supposed to be a one-off thing, but it did really well. And the video we recorded, or that we reviewed, or did like you watch our reaction video, liked it so much that he started promoting it when he would try to push his film. So he's like, check out this reaction video and, see for yourself if you want to buy my content. And we're up to, for somebody who just makes weird whatever, like 100 or 200 views, this one's up to like 6,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And so like, Brent and I have been talking, and I was like, hey, like we should make this a thing. Like if we're going to be serious about it and people actually want to see the kinds of content that we do, then it's something that we should continue doing. And so like basically that whole thing has kind of turned into a kind of brainstorming. I think we posted the video like a year ago, but we're just kind of like hashing out how we want everything to run and whatnot. So maybe here in the future, you guys will have some.
Hopefully it's something we'll see.
Yeah,
more of.
But the disclaimer, I digress. The disclaimer is basically, saying that, we are dedicated to our friends and family. We understand that the things that are depicted in horror movies are, in fact, fiction, or nonfiction. It's like the one that we watched was actual real footage. But, we understand that we're not going to go out and commit the same acts. We understand that it's a movie, but at the same time, we like to test our sensibility and our, like the extent of what we can take visually.
If anything, as a sane human being, it's I wouldn't necessarily say good for you to open yourself to those kind of things, but at the same time, it can be. Depending
on the setting, like, there's a certain amount I feel that everybody should desensitize themselves to.
Right. Because
transitioning into back to how people are terrible, like a lot of people just have no spine. They're offended by everything.
Right.
Everybody's got a fucking opinion about something, and I don't give a shit. Like, you are clearly sheltered in some way or another, and I feel that, maybe it's a good idea for people to just kind of put their toe in the deep end a little bit and just kind of see what else is out there, so that way people have maybe not like a first-hand experience of the grand scheme of things, but like at least have some kind of visual reference.
If anything, if what offends you is somebody not liking the same genre of music than you, I think, like you said, dipping your toe into the deep end a little bit and watching a man stick sharp objects into his genitals is probably something that'll, wipe out that first fear for you.
Yeah.
Might create a fear for the second thing.
You might have a deeper fear of wasps or something,
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So the video I'm talking about, in case anybody is wondering, is a very, very controversial not even like it's not collaboration. It's a compilation of the worst of the worst. So MD Pope is it stands for most disturbing person on the planet, and this is the second volume. So is MD Pope 2, and God damn it, like the stuff that's in there, it's surprisingly, if you go on YouTube and look up Chris and Brent Watch a Movie, check it out. And how we got so drunk watching it, and throughout the episode, you can see us just getting declined. And I don't know how we made it through the entire thing without puking, but I know that lesser people would puke. It's gonna happen. And in fact, one of our plans is we want to do another video where we get like a group of friends, have a big spaghetti dinner, and then like watch MD Pope with lots of alcohol. And,
no.
See, so like, and we're gonna do it like, so if you puke, you can stay. You can't, you just lose.
If you puke, you can stay.
Whoever pukes last wins.
There you go.
And if you tap out and like, you can't hang, you have to leave. Like, if you don't want to watch the film, you have to leave. Like, just get in your car and go home.
Oh, it's brutal. With it being the second movie in the installment, I wonder if the community of people that were like making those videos in the first place, were like, oh, this was popular. We got to put out more content.
No, actually, the guy that, from what I understand, is M. Thomas Cinemagore. If you look him up on Facebook,
That's quite the name.
Yeah.
Is that a pseudonym? Probably.
But so he is he's on the same boat as me, where he like or people, just he hates the human race.
Right.
He's very misanthropic, and so he makes the videos just to kind of spit in society's face. That's all he does.
Which it does a good job of doing.
Oh gosh, it's like borderline illegal to own.
Oh Jesus.
But it's on the internet, so
So that's not
really a good example.
No, actually, the internet's the home for a lot of bad things.
Yeah,
I don't think qualifying anything on the internet with being legal or not.
I take that back. Yeah.
You didn't take it back fast enough. You're already getting hate mail.
Fuck. I really do. I really hope somebody sends me hate mail. I won't even be mad.
I can see myself being like I see you and me, you're like the son who's sad that he lost his baseball game, and I walk in the door, I'm like, oh, what's wrong, kiddo? And I'll send you fake fan mail for your baseball game, and I'll do that with your hate mail.
Like, oh, God, I got my first one. I got my first hate mail. I'm so excited.
What'd you get in the mail there, Chris?
A shit ton of hate.
Oh, boy, I'm so excited for you.
Oh, God, no. And, like, speaking of that, like, so there's not a whole lot that really bugs me. Like, if somebody flips me off on the freeway, I get more pissed that they didn't flip me off properly.
There's a technique.
Yeah, if you don't give a full-fledged, like, middle finger, like,
I hate it when people hide it behind
if they hide it behind the other fingers, dude, I get pissed if that's the case. Because I'm like, you have no spine. Go to hell. But, like, if you give me a fucking shotgun of a middle finger, like, I will applaud you.
Not while driving. That would be unsafe.
No, I do. Like, I get fucking jacked.
Hands off the wheel.
I'm like, no. You would not believe the middle finger this lady gave me. Holy shit. That was incredible.
Calling up your girlfriend like, oh my fucking God.
You had to have seen this thing. Get flagged down a taxi with it.
Oh, the taxi drivers probably wouldn't respond too well to being flipped off.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them probably ignore you after that.
Depends on what city you're in.
New York, they're used to it.
Yeah.
Let's test it out. We'll make it a theory. We'll make it a business trip. We'll write it off as a business expense.
We're just going to go around flipping Middle Eastern people off in taxis. That was a stereotype.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure there's white people that do taxis as well.
Yeah. I'm sure there's Middle Eastern people that would flip off white taxi drivers.
It's not even just that they're Middle Eastern. It's that they're taxi drivers. I was just insinuating that taxi drivers, a lot of them are Middle Eastern. Way to label it. That's not too far-fetched either, so. Again, surround me with your hate.
You're on part 2 of Chris's hate mail.
I fucking hate. No.
I hate.
I want to hate you. That's basically what it is. I want you to send me your hate mail.
But Chris, you can. Without actually knowing someone, you're allowed to hate them. Did you know that?
I do now.
Exercise it. We'll make a list tonight of the list of people that you are allowed to exercise hate against. And we'll see how it moves forward there from you.
Absolutely.
If it increases your ability to hate or if it just mellows out.
Yeah. So, now, Rob.
Yes, sir.
I've gone on a, almost 10-minute rant now.
You did. You did a really good job. I'm very proud of your...
I can fill time. I can fill space. Someone's like, hey, we've got this hole here. Can you please fill it with nonsense?
It's about 10 minutes long.
I was like, man, I speak gibberish fluently.
I will spit this shit. Are you asking me to fill in an equal amount of space?
Yeah, what's up with you? Who are you and why should people give a shit?
Oh man. Well, I don't know if I can answer the second question. That's not something I carry the capacity to even remotely begin to make someone want to do. But God, just about the most of what I've been up to lately is working. That's my primary function at the moment. I'm a vapor fueled and caffeine driven yelling intake system at a call center.
Yeah. So talk about hating people.
Oh God.
No, like because I know like you're kind of your job's kind of like mine. You're kind of under a contract where you can't really.
Not any specifics.
Yeah.
Right. But I've experienced the greediest, shittiest end of humanity, and it comes in the form of 19-year-old girls calling in, yelling at me because they broke their phone.
Yeah.
So that's about what I do. The call center that I work for, I'm sure I'm allowed to divulge at least this much, as I function as a a dispatch of information and an intake of frustration for a cell phone company who shall remain unnamed. And, just about the volume of people that I talked to today, anywhere between probably 20 and 30 people that want somebody to yell at. I've never found one of them so far that I've been happy to have talked to at the end of the day. Not one.
Really?
No. I mean, there's been a lot of people, like, genuinely, I'll admit this. Some people will call in with something really frustrating. Yeah. I get it. And by the end of the call, everyone's happy. We're joking around and everything. As soon as they hang up, I'm like, I can't fucking believe I just spent an hour talking to that man.
Yeah. It's kind of like the precursor to a Tyler Durden.
Explain.
I'm not sure. Okay, like, you've seen Fight Club, right?
No. Don't hit me. Don't be angry here.
So
I know the first rule of Fight Club.
You don't talk about it.
Yeah, we've already. Damn it.
So, okay, your homework assignment is to go watch Fight Club.
All right. I'm done with high school, Chris. So I'm letting you know that I'm doing this as a favor, not as an assignment.
Right. So no. Okay. Now, Fight Club basically was like people who work as like. I say civil servant as in like they are the people who make society run.
Okay.
Your wait staff, your gas tenant,
garbage men,
everybody, anybody who makes society run on the ground floor.
Right.
Not talking CEOs that they're excluded.
Right.
Basically like it turned into this movement that would eventually just change the world through fighting in a basement, and I'll leave it at that. And people who see Fight Club will get where I'm going with this, but I'm gonna like not divulge too much more because I want Rob to see Fight Club. Because not only is it one of the most cult classic films of our generation, it is one of the most, in my opinion, significant. Like
I can see you reading the description off the back of the DVD case.
I really do. Like it's phenomenal. I mean, anybody who's seen it will just tell you like they get it. It's one of those films. It's got Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, the chick from you've seen Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
Or any Tim Burton movie ever.
Okay.
Yeah, she's the chick with she's got the crazy hair.
Yes, I got you.
Yeah, and like in the movie, her name is like Marla Singer.
That's a very her name.
Yeah,
like I can't remember her actual name, but that name.
She's married to Tim Burton. Like that's
she really?
Oh yeah,
that's why she's in all his movies.
Yeah, and then like Tim Burton will basically beg Johnny Depp to be in everything he makes. So.
Well, no, I mean it's if that's what we're based on, then I could very well be fighting in the basement somewhere. Yeah. I feel like that's exactly what I do. But I mean, I don't do anything as helpful as, collecting garbage from the street or delivering your newsletters or things like that.
But it was mostly just like you run the calls. I mean, it's basically, it's all encompassing. Like it's, your garbage men, policemen, like anything that makes living life cushy for somebody with wealth.
Right. I got you.
That they, it just turns into this huge deal.
Now, to be completely honest, I personally, I'm not the front line for any of that.
Yeah.
Because when I originally started working there, obviously you go through training and then you just sit there and you take calls. You're probably expected to take somewhere between 40 and 50 calls in a day.
Yeah.
It's a huge volume of work. Since working there a year or so, I got moved up to the next position where I don't know if you've ever personally called into like a customer service place or anything like that.
I think everybody has.
Have you ever gotten to the point where you're done enough with the original person that you now need someone else? Has that ever been you?
No.
I thank you for that.
I mean, not only that, but like I'm that rarity. Like I know that a call center person's job is hell. It sucks. It's terrible. And even I know that whatever's going on with my personal device that isn't working, that yelling at the person on the phone isn't going to solve anything.
You're a rare breed, Chris.
Yeah. So I was like, and I'll tell him like, listen, I am very frustrated. I know it's not your fault. And I'll tell him, yelling at you will not make this any easier. And I said, if anything, me talking to you in a calm voice and being really cool will make you more motivated to help me.
Oh, it's so true. And it really is.
And then if the person is that it does a good, like a really good job and like has helped me out, I will ask their manager and I'm like, listen, tell that person that they did an amazing job.
Yeah.
I would say give them kudos, a bonus. I don't give a shit. Just like I feel that
something
people who work in jobs where people like, I mean, anything where you are somebody's punching bag. you treat them well because their life at the end of the day probably sucks 10 times more than your own. Like, so I always make it a point to try and be nice to them.
I feel it.
Yeah.
It's definitely the case. But I mean, with those people that do see things the exact opposite way, which I would have to say is probably about 85% of people in the United States alone, that's the people that I end up dealing with. Because I'm not anything special. I'm not like a supervisor or anything like that. But I am in a position where if somebody's yelled enough at the original person, it's time to yell at someone new. You've depleted emotionally and physically the person you were originally talking to. I'm next. I'm up to bat, you know. And that's frustrating. It's a hard experience, but at the end of the day, it's what I get paid for. So I'm all right with it.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have to have the right kind of attitude for that. Cause can you imagine calling me and be like, excuse me, sir, like, my phone won't work. Well, what's going on with it? It won't turn on. Is it charged? Well, no. When was the last time you plugged it in? Like 6 days ago. Well, you're going to probably want to do that. You're like, but send me a new phone.
Yep.
I'm like, well, you can eat a dick. Excuse me? No, you heard me. Eat a dick.
Eat a dick.
Eat a bag of dicks, because I'm not handling this bullshit. Fuck you.
Man, you'd be surprised. There's people that have a bit of an exit strategy when it comes to taking their final call, and they know that it's just the last one. They know they're done.
Yeah.
I've heard some shit, man. I've heard some
things, man. I've heard some things.
I've heard some pretty good ones. But in that line of work especially, you've got to know how to keep yourself entertained. Because when you're sitting in the same chair, in the same spot, looking at the same computer screen for 8 hours a day, you have to find ways to keep yourself relatively amused.
Yeah.
I discovered my way of doing that about 2 months ago, when the night before I was hanging out and playing video games with a couple of my friends, and we were doing accents. We were just like making funny voices and stuff.
Yeah.
I ended up throwing a Canadian one out there, and then one of my friends was like, man, you got to do that voice on the phone. I was like, in my line of work, I think I would get fired. But I did come into a situation not too long ago, and I got approval from higher ups, people higher than me in that center, that said, so long as you can stick with that same accent the whole call, and they don't call you out on it, you're good. So you're playing a bit of a risk, but a customer gets on the phone, the first thing they hear is just, hey, howdy there, thanks for calling Sprint, my name's Rob, how you doing today? Oh, well, my phone's broken, I'm trying to get that work. Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
Let's just take care of that for you.
Let's go ahead and get that up and running for you.
Let's get that taken care of for you. So what's your name and personal information? I'm going to go ahead and need the last 4 of your social. Thanks, appreciate it.
Did notice, though, that in doing that voice, nobody got mad at me. As in, like, customers, like, nobody could be mean to the Canadian.
Well, because, like, again, nice Canadian stereotype. Be like, oh, yeah, hey, I totally understand you're having a bad phone day, okay?
Phone day.
I get it. It's okay. Had several today myself. Let's go ahead and proceed, though. Yeah?
Oh, man. Did not leave one of those customers unhappy on the phone that day.
I think you pretty much need to be a Canadian all your life.
Right? I think that it would make a lot of pieces of my life a lot better.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, because, like, if you have one of those jobs, again, that you're somebody's pincushion, you're destined to be an alcoholic within 5 to 10 years. You're going to have full-blown liver failure and probably tuberculosis.
Presently, I really don't like drinking. And, you know what? I'll 6 months down the road, we'll see. We'll
catch back up with that.
We'll do we'll see. Episode 7, Rob becomes an alcoholic.
Rob has already fallen off the wagon.
Oh, man. So, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's what I get paid to do. And I'm okay with doing it because I appreciate living under a roof and driving inside of a car.
And not only that, but just living a normal life.
Yeah.
Not having to rely on as many people as, like when you were younger.
Yeah, for sure. I've played the homeless game before. Like I've slept in my car a little while.
We all have. Oh,
God.
Well, I should say. I mean, in today's time with a like rocky economy, then I think everybody in our generation has slept in their car for more than a week.
Yep, it's definitely something.
It's humbling.
It definitely is. It's a very humbling experience. I tell you what, it was one of the, I wouldn't say happiest, but it was one of the more eye-opening and real parts of my life I've ever had. Like, I don't mean to be that guy like, oh, you don't even know, you got to try that. But I do seriously mean that, waking up in the backseat of my car and taking a step outside and just, stretching that first thing in the morning. It's a good feeling. You're looking around and just around you is, granted, someone else's house, but no, it's an experience. And I feel like you said, the way that things are these days, sometimes it's a necessity and it's sad, but it's an opportunity.
And as long as you look at life as a series of opportunities instead of like things that happen to you, anything that happens in your life, good or bad, like it can be, just look at it as an opportunity. Like, how can I seize this moment and learn from it and grow and move forward in the most positive way? So, I mean, as long as you keep that kind of spirit or mentality, like you'll go far. Like you'll have already known more than, again, 80% of people.
You can catch Chris's motivational speaking seminar.
Yeah, right. Fuck.
No, you're right though. It's something where not only in each situation do you have something that you could keep working on and make yourself a better person, but those opportunities come at you your entire life.
Yeah.
And even if it's something as small as helping out someone that's sitting on the side of the road, or even just taking the time to sit down and record a podcast with a friend, like they're all things that you can do, and each one of them changes your life in some way.
Yeah. You, fuck. I mean, you have a job that interacts with people. Like my job, though not as irritating as as what you do, but I kind of have your typical dirty job. I'm what's called I'm a cleaner. I clean biohazard waste, and in the event of a murder or suicide, I'm the person that scrapes you up off the pavement.
Which is, I know for a fact that I couldn't handle that. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that.
So, I get what at the end of the day, I'm like, whew.
Yeah.
I gotta unwind. But,
who's got beer?
Who's buying first round? Fuck, we don't even need to make it to episode 5 or 10. I can already tell you. I shouldn't say that. I'm not an alcoholic by any means. But a stiff drink definitely does help take the edge off.
God, I can imagine. Especially with that kind of work.
Yeah. And it's, again, it goes back to, prepping yourself visually and, just stimulating yourself in that kind of deep end of the pool. It definitely helps. With this kind of line of work, you can't prepare yourself until you're in front of it and you're actually picking up pieces of skull out of somebody's yard.
Good God, yeah.
And it's so.
I think probably the most harrowing thing that I have to deal with in my line of work, definitely doesn't come anywhere close to that. But on an emotional level, sometimes people will need to call in for deceased family members to close out their accounts.
Oh, man.
And that's, to be fair, though, when it comes to, taking care of the affairs of someone in your life that's passed away, the cell phone account of that person is not usually the first thing that needs to be taken care of. No. But it's still oh, God.
It's still, you're almost being thrown involuntarily into that kind of situation where you're
when you can't help but be empathetic. I'm not a fucking monster, You
have to be compassionate.
Right, exactly.
Same if what I'm doing normally, because I work for, a contract, so a lot of our have to do with service members and things like that. So you really got to step on eggshells, and you got to be super compassionate because a lot of the times one of his brothers is watching you, do what you're doing. So it's definitely so. Yeah,
we're getting all the dark stuff out of the way now.
Man.
Oh man, Chris, I'll tell you what, man. I have since the episode of the beginning of the episode depleted, exhausted my cup of delicious coffee. By the way, thank you.
Yep.
I'll tell you what though, I feel like we've covered a lot of good ground for episode 1.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good back and forth here.
I feel it's good.
That in mind, I feel like we're probably going to bring ourselves to a close here shortly.
Absolutely.
Do you have any closing statements, Mr. Chris?
For anybody who's this is basically from what it sounds like, because when we started, we really didn't have a direction, and I feel like this is going to be one of those places, kind of like the water cooler, where you come, you talk about whatever you want, you get anything you need off your chest.
Oh yeah.
And if anybody who's listening is able to relate, great. That's awesome. You know, we
Even
hope
if
that-
not, you know, somebody on the outside looking in, hearing those stories,
Yeah.
it's still worth listening to. At least I feel.
Yeah. I mean, and if you don't like it, that's your whatever. It's cool. Like, you don't have to like everything in life, but you don't necessarily have to give us your opinion on it.
Wow. Raises eyebrows, drinks from mug.
Yeah. My cock mug, by the way. My mug it has a cock on it. And by cock, I mean rooster.
Yeah.
So, it's my cock mug.
You don't have to lie. It's not a rooster, Chris.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you did, if you didn't, you probably didn't hear that. So there's no point in making mention of those who didn't anyway. But Chris, it's been a pleasure recording with you here today. Look forward to doing it in the future.
Absolutely.